The wind carried a lullaby none of them recognized. At first it was so faint that Lena thought it was only the whisper of branches rubbing together somewhere high above the campsite. The forest was full of small sounds that mimicked human things. Creaks that sounded like sighs, leaves brushing together like murmured speech. She'd grown used to them over the past few hours. But this was different. She lifted her head from her sleeping bag and listened again. A thin thread of melody drifted through the dark. Not humming, not whistling, not quite singing, just a tune. The fire had burned down to a low bed of coals, their dull red glow lighting the trunks of the surrounding pines like distant lanterns. Beyond that circle of warmth, the forest thickened into blackness. Wind moved gently through the canopy, and with it the melody rose and fell, soft, patient, repeating. Across the fire pit, Aaron stirred. "You hear that?" Lena whispered. He didn't answer immediately. His brow furrowed as he turned his head slightly, like someone trying to locate a far-off radio. "Yeah," he said finally. "I thought it was you." "Me? Yeah, like humming in your sleep or something." "I wasn't asleep." The lullaby drifted through the branches again. 3 notes rising, 2 falling, then a pause long enough to feel deliberate. Something about it pressed oddly against Lena's chest, like the faint tug of a memory that refused to surface. Mark rolled over inside the tent, the nylon wall rustling. "Why are you two whispering?" he mumbled. "There's a sound," Aaron said quietly. Mark poked his head out of the tent flap. His hair stood up in soft, crooked angles. They all listened. The wind passed through the forest again, and the lullaby returned. Mark's expression tightened. "That's weird. You recognize it?" Lena asked. "No, but it sounds familiar," Aaron said. None of them could explain why. The tune felt old. Not in the way songs on the radio aged over decades, but in the way a river felt old or a mountain range. Something shaped by repetition so long it had worn grooves into the world. The wind shifted, and the melody moved with it, circling the campsite. Not louder, just closer. Mark stepped out of the tent and stood barefoot on the cold earth. "Maybe another camper?" he suggested. "There's no other sights for miles," Lena said. "People still hike out here." Aaron frowned toward the trees. "If someone's out there singing, they're moving around a lot." The melody slipped between trunks, passing from one side of the clearing to the other in the span of a few breaths. No footsteps, no snapped twigs, just wind and song. Lena noticed the temperature first. A quiet drop, not dramatic enough to shiver, but enough that the skin along her arms prickled. "You feel that?" she murmured. Aaron nodded slowly. "Yeah." The lullaby came again. This time the final note lingered longer than before, stretching into the quiet like a held breath. And something strange happened. For a moment, Lena felt a memory slide through her mind. She was very small. A dim room, someone rocking her gently, but the image dissolved before she could grasp it. She blinked. "That's weird," she said. "What?" "I thought I remembered something." Aaron looked at her sharply. "Me too." Mark laughed under his breath, but it didn't sound amused. "Okay, that's creepy." The melody shifted slightly. The same notes, but slower, like something testing its voice. The wind threaded through the campsite again, tugging at the loose corner of the tent. The fire's coals brightened briefly, casting long shadows that wavered across the ground. Lena watched the shadows stretch, then hesitate, just for a moment, as if something had moved between the fire and the trees. She turned quickly. Nothing, only dark trunks standing in quiet rows. "Did you see?" she began. "Yeah," Aaron said. Mark looked between them. "See what?" Aaron didn't answer. The lullaby drifted back. Closer now. The notes carried a texture Lena hadn't noticed before. Breath. Not human breath exactly. Something thinner, like air moving through narrow reeds. The melody brushed against her thoughts again. Another fragment of memory surfaced. Her grandmother's kitchen. The hum of an old ceiling fan. someone singing softly while dishes clinked in the sink. But the voice in the memory wasn't her grandmother's. It was the wind. Lena pressed her fingers against her temples. Why does it feel like I know this? Because you probably do, Mark said. It's probably some folk song. From where? He opened his mouth, then stopped. None of them could answer. The forest had grown quieter. No crickets, no distant owls. Just the steady breathing of the wind. And the lullaby. It circled the campsite again. This time the pattern changed. 3 rising notes, 2 falling, then 3 rising again. Correction, as though something had learned. Aaron stood slowly. What are you doing? Lena asked. Listening. You already are. No, he said quietly. I mean, really listening. He walked to the edge of the clearing. The darkness beyond the firelight looked strangely thick, as if the trees were leaning closer together than they had before. The lullaby drifted from that darkness. Soft, patient, waiting. Aaron tilted his head, and Lena saw something in his expression shift. Not fear, recognition. You hear it now, he whispered. Hear what? Mark said. The words. There are no words. Aaron smiled faintly. Yeah, he said. There are. A wind gust moved through the trees. The melody expanded suddenly, surrounding them on all sides. And for a brief, disorienting moment, Lena heard something beneath the notes. Not language exactly, but intention. The song was searching, feeling through their memories like fingers through water, testing sounds, borrowing pieces, learning how to speak. The temperature dropped another degree. The coals dimmed. Aaron took another step toward the trees. Wait, Lena said. He didn't stop. Aaron, the forest knows it, he murmured. Knows what? The rest of the song. Mark grabbed his arm. Dude. Aaron looked back at them, confused. Don't you remember? Lena felt the memory again. Stronger now. A cradle rocking. A voice humming beside her ear. But the voice had no face. No owner. Just wind moving gently through branches. And the same ancient melody. The lullaby rose once more. Closer than ever. This time the final note lingered so long the air seemed to vibrate with it. Aaron's eyes widened. It wants us to finish it, he said softly. Finish what? Mark snapped. The lullaby. Another gust of wind swept through the clearing. The fire collapsed into gray ash. Darkness folded inward. The melody slowed. Waiting. Lena realized something then that made her stomach turn. The tune had changed again. Subtly. It now matched the rhythm of their breathing. Inhale. 3 notes rising. Exhale. 2 falling. The forest wasn't singing to them. It was singing with them. Mark stepped backward. Okay, he said. That's enough. We're leaving. Leaving where? Aaron asked gently. The trailhead. In the dark. Yes. Aaron shook his head slowly. You can't leave until the song is finished. Why? Aaron turned back toward the trees. Because something in the forest had begun humming again. And this time, it wasn't just the wind. It was deeper, layered, like many quiet voices blending together just beyond the reach of sight. Aaron listened with calm fascination. They've almost learned it, he said. Lena's chest tightened. Who? Aaron smiled faintly. The ones who remember. The wind moved through the forest again. The lullaby returned. And beneath the melody, soft but unmistakable, Lena heard a third voice joining the song. Her own. Their campfire crackled in a voice-like cadence, forming words they almost understood. At first, it was only rhythm. Wood pops had always sounded like something almost human, tiny bursts of pressure escaping the grain. Everyone who had sat beside a fire long enough had heard it. Syllables hidden in the collapse of burning wood, half-formed vowels in the rush of sparks. But this was different. Caleb noticed it before the others. He was sitting closest to the flames, elbows resting on his knees, watching the fire breathe. The logs shifted inward with soft sighs as embers consumed them. Each collapse released a sound that came not randomly, but with a pattern. Pop, pause, crack, a soft, sliding hiss. Pop. It sounded like a sentence trying to remember itself. "Do you hear that?" he asked quietly. Mara looked up from the small folding knife she was using to whittle the end of a stick. Her eyebrows lifted. "Hear what?" "The fire." Evan chuckled from the other side of the pit. "It's doing fire things, man." "No," Caleb said. He leaned forward slightly, squinting into the shifting orange light. "Just listen." The forest around them was thick with old spruce and fir. Their campsite sat in a shallow bowl of earth where the trees pulled back just enough to reveal a slice of starless sky. Night air moved slowly through the clearing, carrying the damp smell of moss and soil. For a moment none of them spoke. The fire answered. Crack, pop pop, pause. A long dry hiss as sap bled through the wood. Mara frowned. "That does sound weird." Evan leaned forward. "What, like Morse code?" Another pop, louder this time. The sound echoed strangely off the surrounding trunks, as if the trees themselves had absorbed the vibration and were quietly returning it. Pop, crack, pop. Evan's smile faded slightly. "Okay," he said. "That's actually kind of rhythmic." Caleb nodded slowly. "Exactly." The flames shifted. A curl of smoke rose from the center of the pit, twisting upward like a slow ribbon. It didn't drift with the wind immediately. Instead it lingered in place, rotating lazily before dissolving into the dark. The fire popped again. 3 quick bursts, then a pause, then 2 more. Mara tilted her head. "That sounded like..." She stopped. "Like what?" Caleb asked. "I don't know." The flames bent suddenly to one side as a breeze moved through the clearing. Shadows stretched along the ground and climbed the nearby trees, flickering across bark like nervous fingers. Evan tossed another small branch onto the fire. The reaction was immediate. Flames surged upward with a sharp crack, loud enough that all 3 of them flinched. Then came the rhythm again. Pop, pop, crack. A pause so deliberate it felt almost attentive. Caleb spoke softly. "Okay. That one sounded like a word." "Yeah," Mara admitted, "but I can't place it." Evan laughed again, though the sound felt thinner now. "Your brains are just filling in patterns. Same reason people see faces in clouds." The fire popped again. 3 short sounds. Then a drawn-out hiss. Mara's knife stopped moving. "Did that just change when you talked?" she asked. Evan blinked. "What?" "You said something. Then the pattern changed." Caleb stared into the flames. The coals glowed deep orange, like the inside of a living body. "Say something else," he told Evan. Evan rolled his eyes. "Hello." Mysterious sentient campfire. The flames shifted. A log collapsed inward with a heavy crack. Then the pops came quickly. Pop pop, pause, pop. A low hiss that sounded uncannily like breath leaving lungs. Mara felt a chill crawl along her spine. "That's not funny." Evan looked less certain now. "Coincidence?" Caleb shook his head slowly. "No." The fire moved again. Flames bent sideways without wind. Smoke gathered in a loose spiral, drifting toward Caleb's side of the pit. The heat intensified briefly against his face. Then came the sound. Pop, crack, pop, pause. This time all 3 of them leaned forward. Something about the cadence had become unmistakable. Not language exactly, but structure. A rhythm that belonged to conversation. Mara swallowed. "It sounds like syllables." The fire answered with another crack. A piece of wood split cleanly down its center, sending sparks drifting upward. Those sparks didn't scatter immediately. Instead, they rose together in a slow column before dissolving into darkness. Evan rubbed the back of his neck. "Okay," he said quietly. "That's weird." The forest had grown quieter. No insects, no wind through the canopy. Just the steady breathing of the fire, and the occasional crack of something deep inside the burning logs. Caleb spoke carefully. Can you hear us? The fire flared. A sudden burst of heat pushed outward. Pop, 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 crack. Mara's throat tightened. That felt like a response. No, Evan said quickly. That's just airflow or… The flames dipped, then leaned toward him. Pop, a single sharp burst. Evan froze. Caleb whispered. It reacted. Another pause settled over the clearing. The fire burned lower now, but the coals beneath glowed brighter. Their light pulsed faintly, slow, like breathing. Mara leaned closer despite herself. The heat brushed her cheeks, and the sound came again. Crack, pop, pop, pause. Her mind tried to assemble the sounds into meaning. For a moment she almost heard it. A word sitting just beneath comprehension. Something old, something patient. Do you feel that? She murmured. What? Caleb asked. Like it's trying. The smoke shifted again. This time it drifted low across the pit, curling toward the ground before rising again in soft loops. It moved with an odd hesitation, as though searching for shape. The fire cracked again. Louder now. A log rolled slightly in the pit, exposing fresh glowing wood beneath. Pop pop, crack. Evan exhaled slowly. Okay. Okay what? Mara asked. I think we should let it burn down. Caleb shook his head. No. Why not? Because it's doing something. Mara stared at him. You sound excited. I'm curious. The fire answered with another sharp pop. The flames bent toward Caleb again. Heat licked the front of his jacket. Mara watched the smoke carefully. Something inside its movement felt wrong. It wasn't drifting randomly. It was adjusting, reacting to their voices, to their bodies shifting around the pit. The pops came faster now. Crack, pop, pop pop, pause. A rhythm like breath between sentences. Evan stood suddenly. That's it. What are you doing? Caleb asked. Going to the tent. He stepped back from the fire. Immediately the flames dipped lower. The sound stopped. All three of them noticed. Evan froze. Behind him the dark forest waited silently. The moment stretched. Then the fire popped again. Soft, tentative, as if calling him back. Evan slowly stepped forward again. The flames rose instantly. Pop pop, crack. Mara whispered. It wants us close. The realization settled over them like cold mist. The fire was not simply burning. It was listening. And more disturbingly, it was learning. The rhythm grew more precise. Pop, pause, pop, crack. The sounds were closer now to something unmistakably linguistic. Caleb leaned forward again. What are you trying to say? The fire exploded with a sudden cascade of sparks. They spiraled upward in a twisting column. For a moment the shapes looked almost deliberate, tiny points of light forming a curve before scattering. Then the popping resumed. Faster now, almost urgent. Mara felt a pressure build inside her ears. Not pain, just the sense that something in the sound was pushing against her thoughts. Her mind kept trying to translate it, to recognize a word buried inside the rhythm. And then, briefly, she did. A sound formed in her head. Not heard. Understood. A single fragile syllable. Stay. Mara jerked back. What? Caleb asked. She stared at the flames. I think I heard it. Heard what? The word. The fire popped again. Louder. Crack. Pop pop. The smoke thickened suddenly, swirling low around the pit like a slow tide. Evan took another step back. This is wrong. The fire dimmed again. Pop. A softer sound this time, almost pleading. Mara felt the same pressure in her mind again. A fragment of meaning. A suggestion more than a word. Stay. Listen. Burn. The coals brightened. The flames leaned toward them once more. And for a moment, just a moment, Caleb realized something that made his stomach turn. The rhythm wasn't only responding to their speech anymore. It was matching their heartbeats. Pop, pop, crack. 3 separate pulses. 3 different tempos. Learning them, memorizing them, The fire spoke again in its brittle language of heat and wood. And this time, none of them could shake the terrible feeling that it was getting closer to forming a sentence.